Can one company deliver on a commitment to every person in Michigan? Count on it. Count on Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan to be there for our members and for everyone across Michigan. Every day, in every zip code, we're committed to our Michigan communities. At free clinics, offering help to those in need. At schools, teaching kids healthier habits. All over Michigan, we're making a difference because this is our home too. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Confidence comes with every card.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Weekly with Wheatley. We're here at Woodbridge Pub. I'm Brady Beedon, here with Wayne State head ball coach Tyrone Wheatley. And, Coach, a couple of games to catch up on. Let's go back a couple weeks real quick to the Findlay game. Defense played their tails off. I mean, it was the best defensive performance Wayne State's had in 4 years. Offense just couldn't get it going, but you had to have been pleased with what your guys on defense could do for you.
Absolutely. They played tremendous football. When you talk about run stuffing, running the lanes and tackling and downing the ball, they did an incredible job. Offensively, you use the term, we left a lot of things on the field. In terms of schematics, the schematics was there. The guys just wasn't seeing it, just wasn't connecting. And, I have to take the responsibility for that. And we get those things corrected, and we moving the ball.
So that I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but when you talked to me earlier in the week about lacrosse, you said that was another thing that, hey, the concepts are there. It's not everything's clicking. What does it take to find that next step with whoever you have behind center, whoever you have in the game, to have them see that next level and for it to have that almost that aha moment?
Well, time and maturation, right? But people are saying, man, you're going into year 2. I mean, you're in year 3 right now. How much more time? And it takes that time. It just takes a person to grow, and sometimes the teams are mature. And those little plays that we were missing year 4, and all of a sudden when it clicks for the guys, they're not missing those reads. They're making those reads. They're truly understanding it. And then also just the maturation of a player. And you know this, as sometimes as coaches and players, we say we have to turn the page. What happened in week 1, this is week 2. That defense is different. So you can't look at that look that you looked at last week. This week is different. And so the guys are growing. They're growing and maturing at football age, but it's just a little bit slow.
So sticking with the Findlay game, I know there were guys that impressed you. Defensively, there have been a few standouts, and even including the lacrosse game. I think the D-line has been a bright point, especially on the interior. We talked about Roshan, talked about Justin, talked about T, all inside that have played well. McGraw has been a guy that's been flying around. For you, I mean, you can pick those guys, but who stood out to you when you watch film?
I mean, you have to go with number 4, Mr. Williams. He's playing his butt off. Also, just go with the crafty veteran, folks. I don't. His main name may not be called a lot, but he does a lot of things that we call winning in between the margins and doesn't show up in the stat sheet. He's in the run fits. He's where he's supposed to be in the passing lanes, and he gets the defense lined up, and he's the captain back there. He really holds that defense accountable. But then you also, like you talk about the 2 inside linebackers. I mean, when you talk about the run lanes and coming downhill and being where you're supposed to be and downing the ball where you're supposed to be down, those 2 guys are doing an incredible job.
And I think you make a good point about Elijah. As a DB, sometimes no stats are the best stats because that means they're not thrown at you. That means they're not testing you. And he is that leader that everyone can kind of lean on that's been through this. So I think he's another name that you have to throw in there. All right, so talking about Wisconsin lacrosse. You go there and, Drew, who's been another bright spot offensively. It feels like when the offense has been going, Drew Hickmont's been a name that we've said a lot.
Yes.
So I guess before we get anything else, just talk about him because, when the offense was going, whether it was tipping at the end when you were able to get in the end zone, whether it was when you were moving the ball against Findlay or setting up the touchdown against lacrosse, Hickmont was a name you were saying. How nice of a find has that been for him coming out of the portal?
Well, once again, it's been a great find for us, right? And when you talk about mature, he's one of those guys who's a mature guy, who's had those moments, who's been through those moments, who had those growing pains. So there's no moment too big. There's no, oh my goodness, I slipped or I thought. There's no moment in his game in that maturation process. So when it's time to go to him and the ball is underthrown, he understands how to position himself and come back and get that ball. But been an incredible get for us.
So in the lacrosse game, you go up 7-0 early, and you knew it was going to be a physical team. Like that team plays a similar style that you'll see for the final 8 weeks of the season. But 10-3 at half, 10-7 at half, and then they came out and they were just able to get a little more at the start of the third quarter. What did you see was the difference maybe between how you guys played in the first half when it was blow for blow back and forth, both teams were trying to find their footing, to the second half where until the end when you guys tried to storm back, that they were able to build a bit of a lead?
Well, kind of like our first series out. You know, you go 3-and-out on your first series. And that's what happened when you put your defense on the field well over 83 plays, and I think they had 83 to around maybe 59 plays. That's kind of hard. But at the end of the day, the offense, we still, like I say, those plays were there. You just have to connect on those things, right? You just have to connect on them and keep our defense off the field. I know it sounds, repetitive and over, but it's football, and it is what it is. And I'm just telling you the stone-cold facts. And we will get those things ironed out. We will get them taken care of. But once again, just offensively, our guys just got to grow into it and see it and be able to keep our defense off the field.
One thing, just from the booth, when you notice when you have a 10,000-foot view is, you can tell the passion's still there at the half, right before you even went into the locker room. You brought the guys in and you talked to them before you even got in the locker room. After the game, you did the same thing with the coaches, just brought them in and had a conversation. Obviously something you wanted to talk to them about. What are those conversations like? Because it's not something you see every game, but obviously something you felt necessary. What were those conversations like, and did you feel that they were productive when you had those talks?
Well, first and foremost, the locker room was tiny.
Yeah.
That was part of it, but the most of it, I wanted to capture the moment right then and there. And just because you started to see some eyes started to drift away, and oh my goodness, right? And I just wanted to tell them, listen, they come out. We're going to put our defense on the field because they get the ball coming out the second half. Offense, let's regroup. They're not doing anything that we haven't seen before. We are the ones that's leaving the field, the numbers on the field, not them. They're not doing anything to take anything away from us. So when we jog into this locker room, let's get ourselves together, let's get ourselves composed, let's come out and let's play football.
So one thing that you mentioned, you start to see the heads hang a little bit, you start to see the eyes roll. How do you try to battle the here we go again mentality? Because, it's not the start of the season you were hoping for, but you've shown flashes. How do you get them to say, you know what, someone's got to put their foot in the ground? Is that a player stepping up? Is that just, getting off to a faster start so they see the success? How do you kind of get rid of that? Oh, no, because even if they don't say it or they don't show it outwardly, sometimes that can even seep in to the back of your mind or the subconscious.
Well, that was, like I said, that was the main reason for me bringing them together before we went in the locker room. And basically, at the end of the day, you tell them, are they doing anything to stop us? Mm-hmm. What have they done to stop us? And the question was, what have they done?
Right.
And the answer was nothing, right? They've done absolutely nothing. We are the ones that stall, and we are the ones that are stopping us. We know what we need to do to correct it, and let's go. And then at the end of the day, once the guys start to feel that and see that, here we go again, it's like, yeah, it's not here we go again. It's us. We have to change this. We have to get this. Like you get the thing with Champ on the first play of the game. I don't know what happened. I don't know why he overstride. I don't know what he did to make himself overstride and slip on the first play. But once again, pregame jitters. We can coach him, but at the end of the day, the player has to go out and do exactly what he's coached to do and hit the reads he's supposed to read, right? If he throws that ball, it's a big game on the first play of the game. And so you come out. But that's what I said going into halftime. What are we doing, right? What are they doing to stop us? Absolutely nothing. It's us. And so when you ask the question about the heads hanging and how do you answer that, that's it. It's not, here we go again. It's, what are we doing so that it doesn't be here we go again, right? And that's the question that was answered.
So one of the things that I always like to once now that you're established here, this is year 3, and you're trying to put that foundation down and get those guys to start to believe. So start turning some of the results. But this year's team compared to maybe some years past, and whether it's personnel or maybe just attitudes, where have you noticed the biggest strides for your guys? Where have you said, you know what, 2 years ago we did not have this, but now this is where I want it to be?
Oh, the resolve, definitely the resolve. I mean. You didn't have as many guys with, here we go again, but you can still see the frustration. But these guys they're able to bounce back. They're able to come out of it sooner and faster than years prior. The way they play, how hard they play, the determination as a whole is totally different than years prior. So once again, yes, year 3, I wouldn't say established, but yes, it is year 3. But you're also talking 20 years or maybe 10 years of this football program having those issues. And so once you get these things, we don't know how long it's going to take. But just understand, I'm fighting my butt off to get it there, and it's getting close. It's closer than we were last year, and it will be closer moving forward.
So I know you said that a couple of weeks ago when you talked to Tony on the sidelines after the Tiffin game, and especially after the Findlay game, because that one, felt was right there. Because obviously, again, tough start on the scoreboards, but where have you seen, like, hey, this is where I'm noticing it's closer, that maybe when you're watching real time or something that is to the casual observer they can't see, but you see looking at film or your coaches see and say, you know what, we weren't doing this last year, we weren't doing this, and we're just one step away, or where have you noticed that maybe more like on the field with the actual play?
We'll just talk about offense, right? When I say we're leaving yards on the field, in years prior, I mean, you just have this total destruction and chaos all over the field. Right now, like I say, the concepts is there. Everything is there. We just have maybe one or two people who just has to connect, right? And once we get those two people in synchronized, that's when it's going to pop off.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it. Last question I have about looking back before I'll give you a break and then let you eat something here at Woodbridge Pub, and then we'll look to Quincy. Made the decision to make a change at quarterback in the fourth quarter of that game. You don't have to say anything about this upcoming week, but what goes into that? Because you made the same decision in week one. What was the thought process there of, hey, you know what, let's see what Braden can do here in the fourth quarter? Because he had a couple of nice drives working him down the field.
Well, it's not so much as what I feel. Once again, it's just going back through the process of the game. Who sees it? Who could connect, right? So at one point, Champ did a great job where he was able to march the ball down the field and get some things going. This week against, lacrosse, he didn't see it. He just didn't see it. He just wasn't in a rhythm. And so when that point is happening and you're talking to the guy that's behind him and you're asking him, do you see what's going on? Are you ready to go? And he's ready to go. And he goes out and he proves it. So once again, it's one of those deals where I wish I can get a guy that's going to be consistent and see it and do it that way. But, start of the game of the season, Siri didn't see it, right? So we went with Champ. And then we went with Champ the next week, and he played absolutely well. Come back this week, he didn't see it, right? So it's not so much as it's not really a decision on mine. It's just a decision of how the game is going and what's the flow.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate it. I'll let you take a quick break because got to talk to Coach Byrd, got to talk to Ethan Gates here coming up, and let you grab something to eat here at Woodbridge Pub. And if you're looking for a cozy spot in Detroit with great vibes and even better food, come on down to Woodbridge Pub, located in the historic heart of the Woodbridge neighborhood. They're known for their delicious, locally sourced menu and craft cocktails. The perfect spot for a casual night out or weekend fun, or maybe a spot after a Wayne State home game and a victory at Tom Adams Field. Whether you're relaxing on the patio, you can enjoy live music, or just catch up with friends, Woodbridge Pub is your go-to for a true Detroit experience. Stop by today and taste what makes us a local favorite. Now joined by Wayne State offensive line coach Rosco Byrd, and Coach, becoming a bit of a veteran at this. This is, third time in a row you've done this. Glad to have you back on here.
Glad to be back.
All right, well, let's get right into it. Offensive line, usually the heart and soul of any team. Like, that is where, the great teams, they look at them and go, man, they had a heck of a line. They had some dudes up front. And when teams struggle at times, sometimes you go, all right, the offensive line. Coming into this year, I think that was a bit of a question mark for Wayne State. Didn't have a lot of depth on this team. You had a few guys coming back. We'll talk to one here in a little bit, Ethan Gates. But I thought through the first 3 weeks that the offensive line has been a pleasant surprise with some unknowns coming in. I thought obviously as a coach, there's always going to be things to change, but I thought they've done a nice job through the first 3 contests this year.
Yeah, they've been doing pretty good. That was a question coming in. How we would look coming out. I think the first game, Tiffin, kind of showed that, we can actually be pretty decent. In the second game, I think we got a little bit better. But, as the offensive line, sometimes they take it a little bit to jail. Got guys that coming back. So we had 2 new guys, Trent Light, who was out for a year, and he's back playing now. Sherrod Green, who's in the mix, who was out 2 years. And then Ricardo Warman, who played 3 games last year, redshirt freshman coming out for injury. Mikey O'Brien has been helping out, who came out from an injury last season. And, we got Ethan Gates and Lewin and Will Edwards. So, trying to get those guys, to come together. And they've been doing it slowly but surely, and I think the best is yet to come with that group.
So I do want to ask you that during spring ball, you also didn't have a lot of depth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a part of some teams that did not have a lot of depth in spring ball, and makes for some interesting practices. Because on the one hand, man, you want to get those reps in. That's a great time to grow, and role players can become starters. Starters can become stars during spring ball, and that's where the growth happens. But, man, you don't want to run them into the ground taking every rep. What was that like in spring ball? Sometimes you had less than 10 healthy offensive linemen. How did you balance that out? Because I did not envy you when I was at the spring game looking how you had to rotate guys through. And, well, you couldn't really rotate because you basically had enough to get the guys out there.
Well, that's all speaks to the kids. I mean, their leadership. I mean, like guys like Ethan. I mean, those guys didn't complain one day. They understood what the assignment was, and they went out there and they took all the reps. They didn't complain. Hey, if it was 6 guys, if it was 10 guys, they went out there and showed the toughness. So we're more so on the kids on that one than me.
All right, so now in year 3 here, getting into the flow of this season, where are you noticing, I asked Coach Wheatley this, where are you noticing the biggest strides, maybe just even on the offensive line or as a whole, where have you noticed, hey, we're taking these steps forward, we can hang our hat on this?
I think we're coming together on the offensive line standpoint. I think, like I said, the best is yet to come. I think we're definitely going to put it together this week. I got a good feeling about that, and I think the receiver corps has been doing a real good job. Guys like Drew coming along and Jordan Bell, you see, came along. At the end of the game, Justice Tuggle. And then, I think with the quarterbacks, them having a chance to settle in and do all those things like that, I think we're going to be fine. And then, the backfield with Tyus and Bentley and those guys, I think they're getting, comfortable. And I think, starting up front, if we get the job done up front, it will make everybody else comfortable too.
So I do want to ask, I didn't ask Coach Wheatley, but I will ask you, La Crosse, Wisconsin is not right around the corner. Yeah. I know that was a long bus ride. And you can only look at film so long. You can only cut up film for so much until you're in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, and it's pitch black out. What's Coach Byrd doing to get through that basically 8-9 hour bus ride, not including all the stops?
Well, not a lot of Netflix. I try to look at some film or go to sleep. Try to go to sleep if you can. But just try to take your mind off a little bit. Take your mind off of the fact that it's a long bus ride. I mean, we understood what it was. We know what we were going into. So just, take your time, to, enjoy the scenery. Try to take your mind off the fact that you're on a small bus with a bunch of about, 30-some people on it.
Right. Yeah. And you're no stranger to that. I mean, you've gone up to Houghton, you've gone up to Marquette, you've gone to Kirksville at Truman State. Those are not quick bus rides either. I'm just always curious because some guys are sleep guys. They'd say, hey, give me that was me. Yeah. Give me my pillow, give me my blanket, and I'll kill half this ride just snoozing away. Some guys, will download seasons of shows. Yeah. So it sounds like you're a guy that'll do that. So get to be back home this weekend. I'm sure that's a relief.
Very much so.
You're going to play a Quincy team that, not too long ago was a program that was down on its luck, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
They're starting to turn that around. From your perspective, what can you tell us about Quincy? Because I know they have they've had some success here in the early season, sitting at 2-1.
Yeah. I mean, you got a team that coming in on some momentum, winning 2 games and, coming off of a win. So they're going to come in, hot, expecting to come in and get a win. So I think the guys have, they understand the assignment. They know what they have to do. I think as a coaching staff, we understand that we have to do too, get these guys, playing together, especially offensively. I think our defense been balling. They've been doing a pretty good job. We got to try to keep them off the field so they can stay fresh and, doing what they're doing. But I think we're gonna put it together this week. I think the boys are really determined and they understand what they need to do. And I think up front, like I said, guys like Ethan Gates, guys like Will Edwards, guys like Jalen Lewin, who's been here, who's been through it, they know that it's time for us to take lead and get this thing done.
For a casual fan, offensive line is something that's pretty hard to judge how well someone's doing. There's not stats. You could look at maybe knockdowns or pancakes but at the D2 level, they don't have pressure rate. They don't have things like that.
Yeah.
So how hard is it more difficult as a coach to kind of evaluate, or is it more nitpicking? And sometimes you might not have caused the play to go wrong, but you got to be disciplined there. How do you evaluate your linemen, because it's harder to do from just sitting in the stands?
Yeah. Well, first, of course, your overall assignment, but and my guys understand it's the technique. It's all technique. It's mostly mental more so than it's physical, because if you're thinking about pass protection, you got to know what type of blitzes, where this guy coming from, what kind of moves he's doing, and you're doing that while going backwards. And he's going forward. So that's pretty difficult. And then even when you're in the run game, are you working with somebody? Are you by himself? Where's the ball? Do I have to be inside? Do I have to be outside? Are we reading this guy? You got a lot of moving parts. So assignment, a technique, and then just finishing. Those are 3 things I'm looking at, okay? You might be confused a little bit, but are you sticking to the coaching points? Are you sticking to your technique? And then once you get hands on somebody, are you trying to be violent with them, or are you trying to move the guy?
Last question I wanted to ask you is, this offseason there was some turnover on your staff, including getting a new offensive coordinator and Coach McDonald. From your perspective, it's kind of a unique spot where, hey, because the offensive coordinator is kind of the architect. Obviously Coach Wheatley is the CEO of everything. But, get a new guy in charge of the offense. How was that transition changing offensive coordinators? You were one of the guys that was still here. Yeah. What was that like, and how has it been seamless? Did it take a little bit of time to mesh with what Coach McDonald wanted to do? How was that?
No, it was pretty smooth. I guess I'm an easygoing guy, so
right.
Me and Coach McDonald have a great relationship. It just goes to having a conversation and talking. What's your philosophy? What you're trying to accomplish? What is your verbiage? What is your language? I think luckily for me, I've played and coached in different systems, so I understand what you're trying. What you're trying to do. If it's from an option standpoint, if you're from an air raid standpoint or pro style. I kind of dabbled and dabbled in all those different things. So as far as gelling with the new coordinator, he's a great guy. Easy to get along with. So I think that's more so personable stuff. The football gonna take care of itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Just being able to read his chicken scratch is probably the hardest thing.
Chicken scratching. You know how he talks a little bit, but they probably said the same thing about me. So.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it. I'll let you go enjoy some food here at Woodbridge Pub.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Now joining us, Wayne State offensive lineman Ethan Gates. Ethan, first of all, thank you for coming in. And I always like to start off everything is just learning about the journey of coming here. Now, you're not too far down the road, just from St. Clair Shores, a Lakeview kid. Just talk about the journey of, being recruited, coming here to Wayne State, and deciding to spend your college years here in Metro Detroit.
Yeah, so I got recruited here with the old coaching staff, and I actually got my offer from a Wayne State camp, and it was like one of the big national showcases where they had a bunch of kids here. And one thing the old offensive line coach said that stood out to him is why he called me back was my effort. And because when there's that many kids, it's hard to show off technique when you get one rep, but when you're out there busting your butt, you stand out. So, he was on my tail. He was at my football games. He was at my high school because I was real close. And it was just kind of a no-brainer when the offer came in to come here because I love Detroit and I love being close to home.
So I do have to ask, though, you get the offer and then not too long into your tenure, there's a coaching change. And that can be a bit of an unknown, and you're not really sure what's going on. What was it that made you say, you know what, I'm going to stick it out? Was it, hey, you know what, I love Wayne State as a school. I'm going to stick it out no matter what. Was it, getting to meet Coach Byrd and saying, you know what, I can play for this guy? What was it that said, you know what, I'm going to stay here even though some things have changed up a bit?
Yeah, definitely as a freshman, like the whole coaching staff leaving was very interesting. I had no clue what was going on. I was just like, all right.
You're just learning how it's going now.
I had no clue how college football worked until I got here. So, Coach Twan was the interim head coach, and I had a good relationship with him. And then going into the spring when all the coaches showed up and I met Coach Byrd. Coach Byrd was awesome, and ever since then, leaving here has not been a thought in my mind.
Well, I love to hear it. And the one thing you talked about, and I think it's true for a lot of guys that stayed through that transition, was, Coach Antoine Robinson kind of carried the torch, kept it up until Coach Wheatley showed up, and that had to calm everything down. Because, again, you're a freshman. You're trying just to learn how to survive as a college football player, and then everything you just learned basically got thrown out the window. Then you come back and you start to have some success. When did you start to realize, like, hey, I'm a college like I am out here. I am just as good as everyone else. I deserve to be out here, because it can be intimidating at first. What did it click? You say, you know what? I'm a darn good football player.
I'd say it's probably the first game that I played. So me and my roommate, who's not on the team anymore, but when we were rooming at the Slippery Rock game a few years ago, we were both talking. We're like, because we didn't know if Coach Byrd was going to rotate or not.
Right.
We didn't know if he was going to stick with the starting five. So we were like, we don't know if we're going to play. And then coming into that game, we both ended up getting some reps, and we both felt like we played all right. And then ever since then, it was just like after I got my first game snap, like everything slowed down, and it was like, all right, I can do this.
So I want to talk about, Ethan, the student athlete. Ethan, what happens after football's done? What are you studying here at Wayne State, and what do you want to go into whenever you hang up the cleats?
So I'm a physical education major, so I'm almost done with my degree. I have one more semester of classes, and then next semester I student teach. And like my overall goal is to be a high school PE teacher, and I'm probably going to coach football and basketball. And PE's been awesome. There's been some awesome opportunities here at Wayne State. We had this program called Plain, where we work with children with autism, and it's an after-school program for Detroit kids. And so that was a very eye-opening experience and was a very positive experience. And I feel like that experience made me grow as a man.
So talk to me a little bit about that program. How did you find out about it? Who kind of has that set up? And then just how long have you been doing it? And, yeah, it sounds like an awesome experience.
So it was just embedded into the program. So one of my classes, you needed practicum hours to teach, and they offered Plain instead of trying to go outside and find your own experience. So it was just kind of something I was thrown into, and then once I started doing it, it was a good experience.
Awesome. So now I'm assuming, St. Clair Shores kid going to school in Detroit. You try to stay around Metro Detroit, maybe go back to the Shores and teach. Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the goal if it can work out. So that's my plan, to go back to good old Lakeview and be a PE teacher and coach for the Huskies. So
now, Coach, you want to be a head coach one day, or you find just teaching the old linemen, getting the big uglies up front and running that T as well as you can?
Oh, I don't know. I want to start as an offensive line coach, but definitely down the line, I want, once I have more so my career, I'm settled in, and I can take on more responsibilities as a head coach, that's what I'd want to do.
Now, Coach Byrd was pretty nice to you, shouted you out a few times, but when we got Coach Gates on the sideline, what are you doing that, maybe what are you going to steal from Coach Byrd? Or what's something you go, you know what, I'm going to put my own spin on this one?
A lot of my coaching is probably going to derive from prior coaching I got, especially from Coach Byrd. A lot of his sayings, and some of the sayings I can't say on here, but, I'm going to be a little mini Coach Byrd out there on the sidelines.
Yeah, see, it's funny that, even when I was playing, and you have to work the camps or whatever, and then you start to coach the high school kids, and then you catch yourself saying everything your coach says to you, and you're like, oh, I really am turning into him right now. So now it's going to be a little different if you have to coach that T. That's a little different than what you got right now.
Yeah, no, it's that T is completely different than what I'm doing right now. I came into college football not knowing how to pass set, so I just got to teach those kids to be physical. That's the big emphasis in the T.
I do want to ask you. There's a lot of nice places to play, a lot of beautiful stadiums around the GLIAC. Tom Adams is one of them. What's the worst road trip you have been on? I know lacrosse was a long one. There have been a few. Which one has just felt like the road was never going to end?
I'd probably say Northern Michigan 2 years ago. So our bus driver missed the exit to get our food, so we went over the bridge, came back, went back over the bridge, and then the other bus actually had to pick up all our food, so then we had to sit on the other side of the bridge and wait for the other bus. So that extended our bus drive. That was already very long by an extra hour or two.
Now, and for people at home that are listening, or anyone at Woodbridge that has never gone over the Mackinac Bridge, let alone in a bus, if you're not a fan of heights, going over the bridge in a bus is probably not something for you. You probably just want to keep your head down. So having to do it 3 times in basically 30 minutes, yeah, that, especially when you're all hungry and ready for lunch, yeah, I could imagine there were some tempers starting to flare on that bus.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Going over that bridge is not a very fun experience, and my dad hates it. So he said when he goes up there this year, he's getting that service where you can pay someone to drive your car across.
And then to top it all off, you have to go play in the Superior Dome, which if there's 10 people there is a tough place to play. And I think that was before they got the new turf. So, I mean, I've tried to explain, you're basically playing on carpet, or you were playing on carpet. It's the weirdest place to play.
Oh, yeah. So when we played there 2 years ago, we went there and had basically like a full practice to kind of get used to the turf. And like one thing you'll notice is a lot of their players, they wear turf shoes, so they're not as long as cleats and they don't slide as much. So when we were playing there, it was definitely a learning curve to figure out how to not slide when you're stepping.
Well, Ethan, I really appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on and talking with us. Good luck the rest of this year. Stay healthy, and like everyone else, enjoy something here at Woodbridge Pub.
Thank you.
All right, now we're bringing back the old ball coach on the program to take a look ahead. Quincy, I talked about it with Coach Byrd. They were a program that had struggled the last couple of years. They had, they just weren't in the spot you wanted them to be, and now they have a little momentum. They're 2-1 to start. What can you tell us about the Quincy Hawks?
Well, first and foremost, like you talked about it, they had a while and a chance to go to the portal, get the guys that they need in to change it up. And then they had a defensive coordinator from the conference. He's no stranger to the GLIAC. As I always tease the GLIAC about the GLIAC defense. So we're going to face this Bearcat defense coming up this week. Awesome coach, does a great job with his team. As you watch them, they play hard, they get after it. And once again, shout out to our guy, Jeff Weiss. He does a great job of, scheduling us some great opponents. But as we talk about all these teams, they are going to be disciplined. They're going to play the heck out of this defense. They're going to be where they're going to be. I mean, they're menace in the man-to-man coverage. They truly get after it. Offensively, you have Cade Warner, the pedigree of a Hall of Fame guy who's a smart young man. You can watch him in the details of his offense and the concepts that they're running and they're going against. So we're going to, once again, face another detailed and disciplined team.
Coming back home after a couple of road trips, I'm sure it's going to be real nice to be, in your own backyard. Kids get to sleep in their own bed. They don't have to be on the bus. Everything's familiar. How nice is it to come back home after a road trip where you go play a good Findlay team, you take a long trip to Wisconsin to play a solid lacrosse team, just being at home, regardless of the opponent, got to be nice after a couple trips away from Tom Adams.
Like they say, it's no place like home, right? And I think you said the key thing, the familiarity of being in your own bed. Now the scheduling is back on track. You don't have to adjust and move out and go sleep in a hotel and those things. Although sometimes sleeping in a hotel gives you that peace of mind. I like it. It gives me a chance to get away. But back to being home, being in front of the crowd, being in front of the home team. I mean, our fans are incredible. I love the way our support is growing. We just have a great home support team, and it's growing, and I love what's going on at Wayne State right now.
How important is this game? Because, as an athlete, you can tell someone so much, hey, you got to do this. And kids are doing what you're asking. Like we just had Ethan on. He's a young man that does what you ask him to do. How important is it, though, to get a win just to get that validation? Like as much as they know the process, but just to get a win to say, hey, this is the reward. This is where all your hard work has gone to.
Well, you know what? I use the baseball and basketball. And what I mean by that is I tell these guys all the time, you couldn't play basketball or baseball, right? Because there's two different seasons or three different seasons if you want to look at it. People were talking about the Tigers and there goes the conference. No, they still have another portion of baseball to go, right? And it's just like football. Yes, it would be absolutely amazing to get this win. Heck, it would have been great to get all three of those wins, right? But to get this win will solidify the confidence to get those things going, right? But let's just say for the heck of it, it doesn't happen. You have the conference now. That's when the season truly starts, right? The conference. The conference is where you really have to look at it and say, okay, we have to take all the deals we didn't do well. Let's wrap it up. Now, our next season starts, the conference. So, but we're not looking past this game. No, that's not what I'm saying. And yes, a win will give you the confidence to pull it all together, to kind of get that little monkey off your back, right. To give you a little breathing room, food tastes a little bit better. Everything is better, right? And it will help. And that's what that win will give us this weekend.
So getting a quick start is going to be important because last couple of weeks, all right, lacrosse, yeah, you got that early touchdown. Again, Drew was awesome on that catch. But against Findlay, against Tiffin, it took a while to get that offense going. How important is it to get a quick start? And is there something as a coach you try to change with it? Maybe it's a warm-up thing. Maybe it's, I want the ball first, or I'll put my defense out there. What is it like? What have you thought about? Because sometimes you just look at some small things. Because for some teams, it makes a difference. Getting off to a quick start, what do you have to do, and how important is it?
Well, each week we looked at that. Even in the preseason, we looked at that. We've practiced. We've kind of put into like a game day practice where it's a game day where you come out and you go good versus good, and you start the thing off, and then you do a halftime, and then you come back out after halftime and see if you can start up. So we started doing things like that in the spring. We did a little bit of that in preseason ball, but we tried, like I said this week, we took the ball first, right, to get the offense going, to get them going. But I think really at the end of the day, it just goes back to what I was talking about when these guys grow up and they mature and they understand that this rep, the first rep, right, I don't have to be too high, I don't have to be too low, I just have to do my job. And as I use the term, I just have to get on base. I'm not looking to do a home run. I'm not looking to do anything extra. I just put my eyes on the ball, get on base. And you get the first down, the second first down, and you just keep it moving. And that's really what it's all about, and just trying to keep them in tune as to what's really important. The big plays will come, but you have to get the first down.
Because sometimes you might get those kids that, they just want it so bad, and you start to press, and it's not that they're doing anything, they're not trying to do anything wrong, but they just want it that bad that they're trying to, almost score a 20-point touchdown. And like you said, you have to just take it one play at a time. And I do think part of that is, you have some early success. They go, oh, this is all we need to do, and then it starts to, you get the ball rolling from there.
But yeah, early success does help. But when you talk about success in its totality, it's the progression.
Yep.
It's just understanding, in order to have success, you have to do the little things to be successful, right? So like when you talk about, you want to score a touchdown. Well, what do you have to do first? Get a first down. Well, some people will say, well, you could throw a bomb. But what are your odds and chances of that, right? Throwing a deep pass and getting a touchdown. But if you get consistent first down, eventually you end up in the end zone, right? So but then just not only the first down, you still have 3 downs before you even get the first down, right? So that's first, second, and third, not including fourth, but I just say first, second, and third. What are you doing in those downs? Going back to champ. You don't have to come out so fast and get into your drop and overextend yourself, and then you slip and you slide and you miss the pass. Just come out, do it like you did in practice, and you don't have to be so high, you don't have to be so low, just be even.
So, coming into this, what's been a point of emphasis for you guys? Where's somewhere that you go, you know what, this week in particular, I want this position group, or we have to dominate in this statistical category? What's one you've been honed in on for Quincy?
Well, I never really want to get into that deal where it's just, signal on just one position group, because then all of a sudden, like what we just talked about, we don't want them guys to be way up here, because if you just say, hey, this position group, then all of a sudden they feel like the onus is on them to, we got to win if we don't play well. But basically what we looked at was just doing your job, doing the ordinary extraordinary. Right? Extraordinary. Just do the ordinary extraordinary. And if you can do that and win your one-on-one matchups, that is it. And so that's what we worked on all this week, and that was the emphasis this week. Hey man, listen, I don't need you to go out there and be Superman. I just need you to be you and do your job and hope, right? And the reason why I use the word hope is that there's injuries, that you stay healthy, right? And everything comes out healthy and everything comes out clean, and you do your job, we'll win.
And I do think part of that is, you're doing the little things right, that eventually, you're going 5-6 yards, and then at some point someone's going to have the ball and go, oh, there's a lot of green grass in front of me. And then I think the other side is defensively, just really a lot of it's keep doing what they're doing. I know they gave up some second half points, but I've liked a lot of what I've seen from a lot of the defenders. I know the rush defense is one of the better ones in the entire country. I have to imagine, like always, there's some things to tinker with and some things to improve. But for the defense, it's, hey, keep keeping us in ball games, because we're going to reward you for all this effort.
Well, that was one of the things I told the coaches when I brought them up. Let's not overcorrect. Let's not get back and start, oh my God, let's really dissect this thing and let's look at it for what it is. But what we don't want to do is get in and start overcorrecting. And we watched the film, and I use the term, with JC, he had a fire. I mean, the game plan that he had was incredible. I don't think there was if you talk about the plays that he called, I would say 95% of the plays he called was right. When I say on point, it was on point. I mean, it was right there. But misread here, get flushed out the pocket, or the quarterback not stepping up, or running back missing a hole here. And so the scheme is there, and that's why I'm trying to tell the coaches, do not get off the platform that you're on. Stay right there. Let's not overcorrect. Let's not start doing things that you're adjusting that you shouldn't adjust. Because if you really look at the teams that have been rolling and have their programs in a great state right now, they run the same stuff over and 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 over. But they had to go through their growing pains as well.
Final question is, got to get the home crowd in front of you. What's the message out there to everyone rocking the green and gold to try to make this a big home field advantage and get a big win on Saturday afternoon?
Well, kind of what they've been doing. They've been very supportive, helping us grow through these growing pains, and just be there. Because I guarantee you, when this thing turns, they want to be the first ones to be and say, hey, I was there day one, and I'm here now when the thing turns, and I'm not a fair weather fan.
Well, I can't wait for it, Coach. Thank you again, and good luck against the Hawks on Saturday.
Thank you.
Again, Wayne State will take on Quincy Saturday, 1 p.m. at Tom Adams Field. For Head Coach Tyrone Wheatley, thank you, Coach Byrd, Ethan Gates. I'm Brady Beedon, and you've been listening to Weekly with Wheatley, live from Woodbridge Pub.
It's me, your PSCU finance coach. Here at PSCU, we're a team. When you refer a friend to PSCU, they get the best credit union ever. And as a member, you get a sweet cash bonus. It's like telling your buddy about the best spot in the stadium to grab some nachos, and he gives you the first chip. Delicious. Cash referrals. Bank better. Together with Public Service Credit Union.